Now, welcome to another edition of News from Naboo with Thor's Lightning Takes. And let's get right to the news.
So we've got a couple of new stories for us today. Two of the stories are going to be spoilers for up to episode 3 of Kenobi. If you want to get to the new this week,
Use the chapter feature at the bottom, yeah.
Absolutely. Save yourself. You were warned. Kenobi actress Indira Varma on her character and how she got the part, and well, a lot of info about that character in general. She plays Tala, a rebel hiding among the Imperial, shuttling people along the Underground Railroad.
The path.
The path.
They called it, yeah.
Varma explains that she's an Imperial officer, but became disillusioned witnessing some of the stuff that they get up to, and she sort of works for the Resistance. She's a code switcher, but she maintains her Imperial status because it means that she can go from different worlds and be more useful to our friends, and she has, in her view, nothing to lose because she feels that she's atoning for the bad things she has done in the past.
In the past as an Imperial or like her own personal past?
I'm going to go with in the past as Imperial, as she says she becomes disillusioned with the Empire based on the things that have happened.
I wonder if we go into any of that in the series or not.
I don't know. I mean, sometimes do give actors background motivation and things. Maybe she's got a comic book coming or a book series that she'll be
Almost certainly. I mean, yeah, it's not the last time we'll see her. I'm sure there'll be comic books and everything else to explain every moment of her life leading up to the series, but...
One can hope.
Well, I don't know. I wonder how much she has left to do in the series. Is she going to be kind of with Kenobi here on out, kind of looking for Leia at this point? Is she going to be a little bit of a love interest for Kenobi? You know, you always gotta shoehorn some sort of love interest in there, right?
Maybe it's just between her and the droid.
Oh, interesting.
She's with Ned.
I doubt that, but I don't know. I'm just curious how much more we're going to see of her if she's actually going to... I mean, does she go with Kenobi now, or does she stay behind? Because we know Leia has been taken by Reva, so... Or is that it? Is that all we get to see? And she just, like you said, she got the backstory just to play the character, and that's that.
Well, when Varma's manager contacted her to tell her that Obi-Wan Kenobi came up for casting and asked, would you be interested? She immediately responded, yeah, of course. Even though she didn't come from a place of being a massive fan, and she knew she'd be putting in some research. Not only, of course, watching the movies, but watching The Mandalorian, partly because Deborah Chow directed some of that, but also she wanted to see her Game of Thrones co-star, Pedro Pascal, doing his thing. Watching The Mandalorian, she loved the humor and the humanity in it.
Interesting.
It was actually about a year ago that we got our first look at Varma's character when she was photographed walking onto set in the Imperial uniform. Of course, watching the episode, we know that she's not just an Imperial officer, but the leaked images. Oh boy. She says it was slightly frustrating because all her friends were like, oh my god, you're an Imperial officer! And it was really hard to keep that quiet, as we found out quickly in the episode that she's playing a double agent. Varma also talked a little about her character being very courageous as well. You know, she did fire on Darth Vader to try and save Obi-Wan.
She did, yeah.
Her character is willing to risk it all. Curious as to where she will go from here.
Yeah, like I said, do we see more in the series, or is she kind of done? And then, of course, we'll see her elsewhere. That's just always how it works, right?
We shall see.
You show up one time, you're going to show up somewhere else, for better or worse.
Unless you were born and died in the same episode somehow.
Death means nothing in Star Wars
Nothing. Alright, this next article is super, super long, so I've kind of divided it up into segments. Kenobi writer Joby reflects on the first 3 episodes. Harold did an interview with Vanity Fair to try and answer some of the questions fans have about the series so far and reflect on some of the show's biggest moments. Harold has indicated that patience, like the key to hunting Jedi, is also the key to seeing the full story play out, as some questions will answer themselves. He starts by talking about getting Obi-Wan off Tatooine. Obviously, to bring Obi-Wan out of hiding, there has to be a pretty good reason for him to leave Luke. Putting that question on the board, what would be seismic enough to make him do so? Acknowledging the importance of the Luke-Leia equation has sometimes been forgotten. Using Leia was a great opportunity to surprise the audience.
I guess. I mean, I've said before, I think it works. I mean, if Bail Organa shows up on your front door and says Leia's been kidnapped, it's hard to say
when
no
to
him.
When he says, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Well, no, she said.
No, he said it too.
Did he say it?
In his own way.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't remember.
Paraphrasing
I think I would have remembered him saying that word for word, but I mean, does it work? I guess. I don't know. It's one of those. I don't know that Obi-Wan ever leaves Tatooine. especially with inquisitors afoot. But there you go.
Especially seeing as they were literally just at his front door.
Yeah, and they were just messing with Owen. I mean...
And he saw it?
Yeah, he literally saw that. I mean, Reva basically promised to kill Owen, in the future if anything goes wrong. And yet Kenobi's
his whole family.
You'll be fine. I'm out of here. Yeah, your whole family. So, okay.
As for how young Leia is portrayed in the series, he had this to say. The goal was to craft the character in such a way that honored what Carrie Fisher had done. But also you got to play a little bit off of the nature versus nurture question, where you see she's the best of her mother and father, but you also get to see her adopted parents and how they formed who she becomes as well. She's very much a byproduct of all those people, and we're getting to see the untold story of how Obi-Wan was a part of her growing up too. That now informs, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope." It helps explain why she would call her son Ben one day. There are lovely pieces of the puzzle that are now complete that we didn't even know we needed to be completed.
They didn't need to be completed.
They didn't. Well, the son Ben thing, I'm like, okay.
It makes more sense.
That, she does have a connection to him and why she would know him more as Ben than Obi-Wan.
But why after he dies on the Millennium Falcon is she like comforting Luke like, yeah, I'm sorry your old friend died.
It's because she's being the strength he needs.
I know. But that's the problem when you go back and you fill things in. Even if you think you're filling in a part of the story that maybe could use filling in, you're making a crack somewhere else that doesn't make any sense. Why have Ben and... I mean, granted, we don't see every single moment of Luke and Leia's life, but it kind of now feels strange that Luke and Leia have never been, like, sharing stories about old crazy Ben, right? I don't know.
We just have to assume that they did after he died.
Sure, you assume...
During the comforting process.
Sure, maybe, at some point. But, I mean, it's so strange that, in the comics, for example, the new Marvel comics, Luke is constantly looking for clues about the Jedi, and yet... Leia hung out with Obi-Wan Kenobi, so it's she's not. All these characters seem to have information, including R2 seem to have information. Chewbacca has met Yoda. It's so strange when you go back and you make these connections, and then it's like nobody wants to tell Luke anything. Like, go figure it out on your own. You're fine.
Next, this is what he says about Kenobi and using the Force. I heard something that J.J. Abrams said ages ago. It should be a massive moment when a Jedi uses the Force. You can't ever throw it away. That really sat with me. You really have to earn the moment. He shouldn't just use it to pull his cup of coffee closer while he's sitting in the cave. Only Leia could pull that out of him. And only a fake Jedi would throw it away on shutters and nonsense like that. It's funny watching that scene at Celebration too, because I know the characters so well, but the audience didn't, and you could feel it in the room. Are you just doing a really bad job with this Jedi? Before they realized what was going on. Like, I love that character. Having a fake Jedi felt like such a fun thing to add to the vocabulary of Star Wars.
There was somebody who didn't know that was a fake Jedi?
He's assuming his whole entire audience was just thinking he was doing a really bad job.
Come on.
That he ran into this really weird showboating Jedi.
Nobody fell for that.
No.
First, the actor they used... He's a good actor. I'm not criticizing the actor, but
he is a playful...
Yes, just the way he even played it. From the moment you saw it, you're like, yep, this is not a Jedi. Mm-mm. I don't know who was confused. I mean, if you were, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to offend you, but I certainly wasn't. And I'd be surprised if many people were.
All right, what did you think about the part where he said that J.J. Abrams said it should be a massive moment when a Jedi uses the Force and not just throwing it away?
Well, sure. I mean, I don't think they should like Broom Boy, like I'm gonna grab my broom. I mean, that's meant to show him, that he's Force sensitive. I'm not complaining about. Well, I could complain about Broom Boy, but I'm not complaining about how he used it there.
Wasn't J.J. Abrams.
True. I know that. For better or worse, I do know that. I'm just saying, just the whole idea of using... I mean, you go back to episode 2, Anakin is using the Force to show off, and he's like, Obi-Wan would be, very displeased right now if he knew I was doing that. It makes sense that you don't use it to just do mundane things, sure. Mm-hmm. Yet, I mean, if you go to the prequels, it's not like every time we see a Jedi use the Force, we're like, oh, it's using the Force. So I kind of agree and disagree with that. It's different,
in a battle scenario, but like you said, you're not just like... Sitting on the couch, I can't reach the remote. Let me just use the Force.
I mean, I kind of like the fact that in the prequels, for example,
it's almost like respecting the Force.
Well, sure, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they don't use it needlessly or just, like I said, just to, I don't want to get up, so I'll force float the remote control to my hand so I can change the channel kind of thing, right? But I mean, in the prequels, I kind of do like the fact that the Force, not that it's portrayed like a commonplace thing, but you do see a lot of Jedi doing Jedi things, or Clone Wars. It's used frequently because that, we're focusing on Jedi, and of course they're going to use the Force. So I don't know that every moment needs to be like, oh my God, he's a Jedi using the Force kind of thing.
Maybe just on the cinematic scale.
I don't know. I don't know. I like I said, I think I understand what he's saying, but I kind of disagree with it. I don't know that it has to be like. It's kind of interesting to see the Jedi treated as this. I don't want to say just this thing that they use, because I'm arguing against myself a moment ago that they don't just use it all the time, but that it's just a part of them. That it's not like this epic thing that a Jedi is using the Force. No, it's just a part of what a Jedi is. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm not making sense either, or I don't think he was making complete sense. So you take to the comments below. Tell me what you think about this one. I'm curious.
All right. Next, he talks about the Empire's role in the Inquisitors. The Empire is in control, but they are a body that exists within the day-to-day life of the citizens of the galaxy. The Inquisitors aren't acting like renegade hotshots cruising around the galaxy, going against the wishes of the Empire. Riva's unpredictability isn't consistent with their operating procedure. Certainly, going after a senator's daughter is very much off limits. We established Riva as being impulsive, more committed to her own personal goals. So it felt like we created enough room for her character to push further than they would.
Is it off limits? I mean, if it leads to a Jedi? The Jedi,
yes,
I mean...
because it still goes against the construction, the wishes of the Empire. Because now you'll have somebody out there going, the Empire kidnapped my daughter and held her hostage.
Yeah, but
you can't have a senator saying that, because he can rally a planet.
Well, sure, but... Yeah, because the one planet is going to change anything, but...
Planet, rally a system.
I guess my point is, if it leads to a Jedi... an Obi-Wan, a former Jedi Master, or council member, I should say. I mean, isn't that kind of like showing there's a connection between Bail and the Jedi? And the Jedi are, according to the Empire, at least, they are the ones who tried to turn against the Republic and why we had to form the Empire in the first place. So the Jedi are the enemy of the Empire, of the people, quote, air quotes around that. So I don't know. I don't know if that, if it ever came out that, well, look, I kidnapped, we used her daughter to lure in a Jedi because there's such a bond between Bail and the Jedi. And I'd imagine they know Bail isn't the most devoted to the Empire, senator. So it's almost like killing two birds with one stone if it works. And if it doesn't, you can just, play the misinformation campaign. They've done it before.
But like I said, it is giving more shoehorn to people becoming rebels.
Well, sure, but that's already going to happen. I mean, you either know the Empire is bad and are with it, or you know the Empire is bad and are fighting it, or you just don't. I mean, I don't think any senator knows or doesn't know what's really going on here. We're 10 years in at this point. I think they've all pretty much figured out what happened, right? So you're either with the Empire and you're playing along, or you're against them. I don't know that, like, I understand they want to keep the show up for the people, but I don't know that, like, if it came out that they kidnapped a daughter, like, that's suddenly going to rally, senators against them. They're not going to fight the Empire anyway.
Here's what he had to say about stabbing the Grand Inquisitor. As you know, we would never break canon. So that's all I'll say. Canon is everything. I can't speak beyond that. I think he's trying to tell us he's not dead.
I guess. I don't know. I'm going to have a whole video on this on the second channel. So it's just a silly thing in general. And I'll talk more about that in the video on my channel. But it's just, the whole thing is just kind of stupid.
Oh, cool.
To put it bluntly.
All right. We've got 2 more pieces of this article to go before we move on to the end here. On to Darth Vader and how violent he was in Episode 3. It was very gratifying to see Vader finally be unleashed in a sequence like that, referring to the hallway scene from Rogue One.
Okay.
So we wanted to try and trump it if we could.
No, you didn't.
It was so important to define Vader's anger and rage. There's an emotionality to the choices he's making that are a little further than we're used to seeing with Vader. He's pushed a little more than the Vader we know. Vader is emotionally invested in the hunt. The horror of the moment that has emotional weight because it's calculated. And you don't get to see the emotion beneath the stoicism that is the silhouette, so it creates something that's really scary.
I don't know. I think this goes back to the debate we had the other day. Is Vader just sadistic, or is he just do what he has to do to...
Well, I'm saying it's because he's emotionally invested specifically in going after Kenobi.
Well, yeah, that's...
Like, if it was any other Jedi there, he probably would not have gone to extremes. He probably wouldn't even have been summoned.
Well, that's kind of my point. I've never seen, like, Vader as just sadistic for the sake of being sadistic. He'll do whatever he has to do, no doubt. But I don't know that he would
Maybe
just...
he believes he is doing what he has to do to get Kenobi.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's doing... Because he has no idea what Kenobi has kind of, quote-unquote, become. He's going to figure, like, the first person he tortures, Kenobi's going to immediately, that's the Jedi thing to do. And so when he doesn't, I think that already just kind of throws him for a loop. And it only encourages him to do more. He's like, well, what's your breaking point, Kenobi? How many necks do I have to snap, or how many people do I have to torture before, you show up?
Lastly, Harold reflected on Vader dragging Kenobi over the fire. His choice is revealing the character beneath and the torture beneath, the pain inflicted and the eye for an eye of it all. It's a choice to hint at something beneath the mask. Vader can't be talking about his feelings, so it has to be an action. That comes from dragging people down the street behind you to try and pull the Jedi out of hiding. That comes in inflicting the same pain upon the Jedi that he did to you. It's awful, but he should be awful. He's Darth Vader.
No, I agree with that. I have no problem with him. Like I said, I don't have a problem with him torturing or killing people to lure Kenobi out. I think putting him in the fire makes complete sense. All that I'm fine with. I just, like I said, I think there's a debate there about how sadistic Darth Vader actually is. I mean, there is still, I think the foundation is still Anakin Skywalker, who believed in order, and that's what Anakin wanted. That's what kind of got him to the dark side, right? He thought the galaxy should be ordered a certain way, and I don't think being chaotic and killing people is actually at the core of Darth Vader. I don't. Again, free to disagree with me, but he's going to do whatever he has to do to, keep the galaxy the way he envisions it should be, as a corrupted Sith at this point. But I think that foundation there of still believing that peace and security and justice and freedom to my new empire, all that, I think that's still there. I think that's still the core of Darth Vader. He's just going to do absolutely whatever it takes to do that. And when you do get a Kenobi in there, of course the emotion's going to come out. And he's going to go a little further than he would for, random Jedi number 2, who, they've been tracking. And like you said, maybe he doesn't even show up for that.
All right, so let's move on to new this week in Star Wars, etc.
Okay.
Adding on to the segment. Can now expect to hear topics or things that might also be talked about at the channel this week. It's like a preview.
Oh.
Moving on then. Coming on Tuesday, June 7th, Star Wars Stories of Jedi and Sith. It's got 10 original stories from some of the most iconic Star Wars characters, from Luke Skywalker to Darth Vader, from Obi-Wan Kenobi to Darth Maul, and beyond.
All right. So
more stories.
Always, like we were talking about, there's always another story.
There's always a minute of life I have not seen of one character.
Until I know every moment of every day of their life, their story is not complete. Mm-hmm. That's the Lucasfilm way. Wednesday,
June 8th is going to bring a lot of Star Wars. We've got Obi-Wan Wednesday for new product reveals. Exciting. Episode 4 of Obi-Wan Kenobi, of course. Everyone's looking forward to that. Star Wars issue 24 from Marvel Comics. And Knights of the Old Republic 2 comes out on Nintendo Switch.
Yay.
I know, it's a big Wednesday.
It is a big one. That's a lot going on.
It's a lot. Let's continue rolling with Wednesday then.
More.
In other news, Wednesday is also the premiere of Ms. Marvel from Disney Plus, which we will be reviewing on this channel.
Yes, we will.
Episode by episode, and hoping for the best.
It's going to be a busy day on Wednesday.
The trailer for Black Adam starring The Rock is also set to come out on Wednesday. I'm looking forward to that. I really want to see how it compares to the feel of Shazam, because those two characters are very linked. At least they're supposed to be. Jurassic World Domination roars into the theaters on Friday. And last tidbit here. For anyone who plays Flesh and Blood, the world premiere of Uprising events are this weekend.
Yay, that's a game we play.
Yes. We'd like to know if you play it too, because we'd like to talk about it more. It's a great game.
It is a great game. If you've ever played Magic the Gathering, I couldn't recommend it more. Or any other collectible card game. But anyway, I guess that's all we got for you this time. So take to the comments below. Tell us what you think of anything we discussed in this video. Seems like this was a pretty long discussion. So if you made it this far, you win the bonus prize, which is you got to listen to us ramble this long.
Is that a prize?
I don't know if it is or not. That's up for them to decide, I guess. But anyway, take to the comments below. Tell us what you think about anything and everything we talked about today. And until next time, thanks for watching.